So Nintendo was right all along. I'm looking at the studio closure thing posted from Colt Eastwood on Twitter, and it says that PlayStation and Xbox studios, they've closed this generation. Manchester studio from Sony here, Japan studio, Pixel Opus, London studio, Firewalk Games, Neon Koi, Bluepoint Games, Dark Outlaw Games for Microsoft, Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, The Initiative, and it looks like Ninja Theory, Compulsion Games, Double Fine, and Arcane Lion are all going to be cut from Microsoft. PlayStation has canceled 12 games this generation. Xbox has canceled 7 games, possibly 9 in total. And then also the asterisk says studios are in active negotiation for closure or independence. And this is what I've been talking about for quite some time now. We see all of the issues that the huge super triple A business model has caused. You see the huge issues of this. We've got to do Game Pass. We've got to do all these different weird things when it comes to gaming. We've got to sit here and make all of this stuff and pour tons and millions and millions and millions of resources into these projects that ultimately end up going nowhere and leave people out of jobs. Or in Sony's case, when it comes to what's happening here, look at the amount of studio closures, even closing down for me, which was painful. 2 ones that were super painful. Japan Studio, that was their first studio when it comes to making games. Without Japan Studio, you don't have the type of PlayStation that you see in today's day. And then also Bluepoint Games, you bought a remake studio and then told them to not make remakes. Like, that's what they do. They're remasters and remakes. So the mismanagement and the pumping of money into ultimately nowhere projects, or even the live service fad chasing stuff like Concord, there was reportedly $400 million pumped into that game, online only, no single player, a bunch of cutscenes and stuff that they were going to plan out for seasons, and it closed down within like what, a week or 2 or something like that. So the amount of bad decisions and the amount of problems that this type of AAA industry has caused and the damage that it's done just shows that Nintendo was right with what they're doing. Now, I'm not saying that Nintendo is 100% right all the time and they don't make bad decisions or questionable decisions here and there. Of course they do. Everybody does. Nobody's perfect. We're all humans at the end of the day. Well, Chrono Trigger is perfect, and the people who made Chrono Trigger, when it comes to the specific Dream Team, they are perfect, but everybody else is not perfect when it comes down to it. Oh, and Takahashi from Monolith Soft, he particularly is perfect. Maybe Monolith Soft, the studio, isn't, but he is perfect. But anyway, getting back to what I'm trying to say here, they're not perfect when it comes down to everything, but it shows that their business model was right all along. This is stuff that if you say it online, you get called names, you get called shill and fanboy and all these stupid things that don't actually disprove what you're trying to say. But ultimately, the game prices, how Nintendo sets things. Now we have $80 physical games for specific titles going forward. The big games like Fire Emblem, for example, probably the next Legend of Zelda game, the Ocarina of Time remake, 80 physical, 70 digital. But what this does, in my opinion at least, is that it ensures when it comes to a profitability and business side of things that they don't have the issues that Microsoft and Sony have. They don't have those same type of problems, especially when you're making cartridges that are way more expensive to produce than the discs that Microsoft and Sony make for their games, are all digital like Steam. And trust me, I'm 100% not a fan of $80 games or raising the prices when it comes to anything with this. If you look at those business practices, that's going to keep all of the people employed and not have to worry when it comes to their jobs. I want to know this. There's no way when it comes to making these big, huge type of games or making games in general that you can confidently do your job if you're constantly worried about getting shut down or that your studio is going to get gutted when it comes to the developers. You're working with someone one day, the next day they're gone. They're just nowhere. You have Microsoft, for example. They literally just announced a game from Ninja Theory with Senua. And apparently there was a article that came out that said that They already knew that they were going to shut them down, but if they show off this game, it could potentially lure some investors to buy them. This is where we're at. It almost seems like it's cruel. It looks like Ninja Theory didn't know that was the case, though. They didn't know, but Microsoft management knew. These are the type of really messed up situations that Nintendo has been able to avoid because of how they operate their business when it comes to making sure that the value of the games stay. I get it. As a consumer, I'm a consumer. I want good prices, and you can find used games and you can find deals and sales on Nintendo titles, and sometimes they do have some discounts and sales when it comes to summer sales or holiday sales and all that. We've seen it before. They just don't do it as often because they do want to protect the value of those games, and they want to make sure that they have enough in the bank when it comes to the profits coming in that they don't have to shut down intelligent systems because Fire Emblem doesn't sell 10 million copies or because Xenoblade doesn't sell 6 million copies. They don't have to worry about shutting them down. They don't have to worry about saying, oh, we're going to fire, 30, 40, 50, 60 employees because this game didn't perform up to the level that it needed to. We don't have to worry about those things because everything isn't funneled through Game Pass or funneled through some type of weird metrics when it comes down to it, because their top or best performing games are always consistently being sold at a decent price to keep the consistent flow of money coming in to where it doesn't affect their types of businesses. And the developers that make these incredible games and these really cool dream RPG projects can continue to work without the fear of being fired. The value in the games is respected when it comes down to it. Not saying it's perfect, but it's respected. And I think that this is a better way to operate than dealing with stuff like this, where you see multiple studios, once again, just in this generation, when it comes down to it, within the last probably 5 to 7 years, all of this has happened. So it's not like this is over the course of the whole 20 or 30 years or something. This is just recently somewhat when it comes to all of these studios being shut down by mega billion-dollar corporations at the end of the day. And you get the cool stuff when it comes to Nintendo Directs. You get the cool stuff when it comes to consistent releases. One of the things that I think that Nintendo's done a great job with is that they've shown that they value the mid-size game. Now, yes, everybody gets excited for the next Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake, which is going to be huge. Everyone gets excited for the big Mario Karts or the big Donkey Kong Bonanza or the next 3D Mario or Animal Crossing or Pokemon Winds and Waves, Super Smash Brothers. Those are going to be massive, big sellers that everyone gets excited about. But I think that the mid-tier type of game, Nintendo does a great job of making those valuable and fun and people excited to play those. Even something like Splatoon, sales-wise, is a huge type of game, but monetary-wise, I don't think it comes anywhere near the level of investment when it comes to the development costs as the biggest AAA title. So even the smaller tier games that have a massive audience, when it comes to that, that is valued a lot at Nintendo. Games like Splatoon or Kirby or even stuff like Star Fox that's coming out, the remake Star Fox, that looks awesome. There's a lot of different types of projects. I even see some hype for stuff like Rhythm Heaven, and that was obviously a budget type of title, and it's priced that way. It's 40, so it's not as expensive as the other games that they have, but you see the type of variety that we're getting between the smaller games like a Tomodachi Life or like that, and that game's huge, Tomodachi Life, or Rhythm Heaven, in addition to stuff like Pocopia, which is a more bigger spin-off but massive type of creation game. And then you have the biggest games that are coming as well. Splatoon Raiders, a spin-off that's more of a smaller game but still really cool. People are excited about games like that. But then you have the behemoths like Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave and a new Xenoblade game, Xenoblade Genesis, coming. So to me at least, this business structure that Nintendo has put together gives you the peace of mind that their studios are not going to be shut down, that you're going to consistently get, even if it's more of a niche title compared to Mario and Zelda, you're still going to get your Fire Emblems, you're still going to get your Xenoblades, you're still going to get potentially your Rhythm Heavens, your Tomodachi Lives, your Splatoon spin-offs, your Star Fox remakes. You're still going to get a variety of different types of games and different types of titles. Once again, not perfect. Every now and then you have your Dragon drives. They try to do something different, but not necessarily the greatest out there. Or your welcome tours, which probably should have just been included in the package when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2. But at the same time, you're still going to get a consistent flow of games. Pretty much every single month, there's going to be a game or so, and they're going to make sure that they provide the value to the cost of the hardware, because the cost of the hardware is something that people talk about. And I was talking about this on my live stream. Nintendo almost lucked out in a way by not going with the crazy powerful hardware every single generation to reach the point where we're at. Microsoft is dealing with a crisis right now. They are part of the crisis because of their AI with Microsoft and wanting to build all the AI data centers that are eating up all the RAM. So they are 100% part of the problem. But when it comes to their business with Xbox, they have a certain level of Xboxes that they want to make, but necessarily can't justify making those because the component costs and the RAM cost is too high compared to the type of demand that they are seeing with the Xbox compared to the demand that Nintendo and PlayStation have with their hardware in comparison. Also, Sharma said this, that they feel that they've been hit harder because of the economic situation that is happening when it comes to RAM and the cost of components. So they have a catch-22 when it comes to their hardware and what's happening right now and why they're hitting a big hard reset when it comes down to that. The hardware has advanced so much, they use so much RAM, and it's so powerful at this point that the costs are just rising. Even though that it's hardware from 2020 when it launched, you're still seeing the price increases across PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series. The Nintendo Switch 2 almost just lucked out because since it uses less installed memory, it uses 256 gigabytes of the flash memory, and it uses less RAM than what you'd see in an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro. They're able to lower their costs a bit compared to the competition. Now, Nintendo could still raise their price. It still could get worse when it comes down to it because it hasn't covered everything. According to Nintendo, the price increase, the $50 price increase, does not cover all of their costs, but I think that they're doing it in other ways with the increase in the certain games being 80 for the physical copies. I think that those are the things that they're doing in order to kind of mitigate maybe some of those losses on the hardware. But I think that when it comes to the hardware itself, the manufacturing, production, and the procurement of RAM and components, it's actually helped Nintendo out not being as powerful and as expensive as Xbox Series and PlayStation 5. So it was kind of like, oh wow, they kind of lucked out a little bit on that. But I do think that that's just one of those things that Nintendo's decision to kind of go for a hybrid console that has home console and portable and doing a decent amount of power but not going insane like a ROG Ally or something like that, to where those are $1,000 plus now at this point, and you're seeing the newest handheld PCs coming out at $1,500 to $2,000 for some of the most powerful ones. I mean, obviously that's a DOA type of situation for Nintendo if they ever debuted, at least in the modern era here, if they ever debuted a system at $1,000 or $1,500, you might as well just pack it up. I don't care how good their games are. People aren't going to buy that in large quantities or droves. They'll just play mobile games, they'll play their Switch One, they'll play something else, but people aren't going to rush out there and go buy that. So ultimately what you're looking at here is that Nintendo's business practices and what they've done help them in this era of the layoffs and in this era of studio closures and this era of crazy prices with hardware. It's helped them not have to deal with all of that. They still deal with the issues. They still have to deal with so many problems when it comes to AI and the hardware costs and game prices. But at the end of the day, their decisions have actually helped them make it to where it's not anywhere near as crazy or as bad as where you see all these studios being shut down, all these games being canceled, and all these problems that you constantly see here. So what do you guys think when it comes to Nintendo's business plan and how they've done things and operated compared to Microsoft and Sony and the issues that we're seeing in the industry? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on the screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.